You are.
This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning. As you come in, go ahead and mute yourself.
Morning.
Right.
Hey, Dad just called me. I just called Dad and he's got a ride home.
No, he saw me washing.
Hey, Paula.
Good morning. I'm trying to figure out how to get my picture to show.
Now just make sure as you come in that you have muted yourself so we don't have to hear your clicking of the keyboard or any kind of background noise as we get going. And Heather, now that I'm sharing screens, you'll kind of have to let me know when our numbers hit.
We're at 36, my dear.
All right.
That feels like about right, doesn't it?
I have about 12 probably that we're missing.
Okay. Just added another one. So as we're waiting, good morning, everyone. Welcome. We need you to help us figure out who you are. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment and we're going to rename ourselves in Zoom. And what we would ask for each person in this room to have is their first name, their last name, a comma, and then the initials for your state. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to click on the three dots by my head. And I'm going to make that little menu pop up that says rename. It's the bottom option. And I'm going to add an Ohio, an OH after my name. So please make sure it's your first name, your last name, and your state initials. If you hover over the square that you're in, it should say mute, and then there'd be three dots. Click on the three dots, slide your cursor down or your mouse down to where it says rename. Looks like lots of you are getting it. Some of you who are on Chromebooks might not have this option, but it looks like most of you are getting it. Okay, Kristen, we're sitting at 37 folks.
All right. Well, it is 8:34. So in the wake of time, we will go ahead and move forward. Welcome, Tennessee and Ohio teachers, to your 4-day, week-long, half a week, manufacturing and engineering externship training. My name is Krista McQueen, and I am the STEM relationship manager with the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network here in Tennessee. I'm located just out of Nashville. I joined the network a little over a year and a half ago. I spent 10 years in the classroom as a STEM educator in a K-4 school before joining the network and taking on this role. And an interesting fact, I actually got to participate in MEEP as an educator in the pilot program back in 2018. So it has been a real full circle for me getting to participate in it as an educator and then be able to work on it and manage it on the back end with all the logistics. So it's been really nice. I will let Heather introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Sherman. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I am the former director of the Ohio STEM Learning Network and the current director of the Battelle National STEM Network called STEMX. I've had the wonderful privilege of working on this MEEP program with Kristen for a couple of years now. We have lived through the pandemic with this program. We've revised it. We've lived in the design cycle with this program for a couple of years, and we're excited to be able to bring you the current version of the MEEP program. We also have another facilitator named Sandy Gento. Sandy is on vacation this week, so she will not be joining us, but you may be getting some emails from her. So if you hear from Sandy, just know that she's part of this crew as well.
Just to give you a little background, a little bit about our organization and the network behind it. So we kind of have a couple of different branches. The Tennessee STEM Innovation Network and Ohio STEM Learning kind of branched out from Battelle. So Battelle is the world's largest independent R&D institute. And with Battelle, there is a STEM education wing. So that kind of branched into OSLN creating and TSIN creating. So OSLN and TSIN kind of operate as sister organizations together through Battelle. We ended up earning this grant for the Manufacturing Engineering Externship Program through the Office of Naval Research. And this grant has been able to allow us to run 4 cohorts of this MEEP program itself. And then we also have STEMX, which Heather told you a little bit about that, because she is the director of STEMX, and it is the state of STEM network funds throughout the nation there. So today, before we even really get started, before we break out into our 101 group and our 201 group, we do have Scott Brown with us today. And as you go throughout this cohort, you're going to be taking a manufacturing course independently. And really that's to help prepare us as we go into our externship in July. And Scott Brown was really the driver for this course for us. He is an expert in the field. And so he's going to share just a little bit why it's important, why we need to understand what's happening in manufacturing. He's going to help bust up some myths for us. So Scott Brown, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over. Thank you again for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Kristen. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Did everybody have a good weekend? Good Father's Day weekend? Very good. Bunch of nodding heads. Outstanding. I am going to share my screen. Let's make sure everybody can see that. Okay. Can everybody see that? We'll do thumbs up. Good. Outstanding. So a little bit about myself. My name's Scott Brown. I actually have spent about 28 plus years in manufacturing, working in semiconductor, DoD, aerospace, and commercial manufacturing. And so when Battelle, I'm actually a former member of Battelle as well. So in Battelle, we started thinking about how do we bring people into the world of manufacturing and help them understand what's involved with that. Well, what we want to do is give you an introduction to the world. We want to share with you some of the lingo, some of the things that you may typically see in manufacturing for a couple of reasons. One, we want you to really understand what manufacturing is. Now, again, as you go through this course, you're not going to walk out as a manufacturing expert. But what you should be able to do is understand a lot of the jargon, a lot of the lingo that comes into play. You'll also be able to start thinking about, how do I talk to my students about this? How can I share with them information so that they can research different areas? And we're going to talk a little bit this morning about the importance of manufacturing and some of the gaps that are coming up in the next coming years when we think about that. So as we dive into this today, what we want to think about is, well, what's the course designed to do? Well, it's designed, again, to give you that fundamental understanding. What is manufacturing? Why is it important? How do products move from a conceptual idea? So if you're thinking about the latest and greatest iPhone or the latest and greatest laptop or the latest and greatest Tesla, or just something common like an update to your toothbrush, how does that come from somebody's concept and idea actually to making it to our house, to our bathroom, to our doorstep? We'll talk in this course about what a typical manufacturing process is and some of the examples of what you're going to see or what somebody could see in manufacturing. We'll talk as well through the course, what are some manufacturing jobs you could typically see? What do they do? And most importantly, as you're thinking about talking with students, what skills and expertise do they need to have in order to be able to have opportunities in this? And then also talk a little bit about what are some of the key tools and metrics that are used in manufacturing. So to kind of set our baseline, let's first think about what manufacturing is. Well, if we use the Webster Dictionary definition, it's something that is made from raw material by hand or by machinery. It can also be defined as the act or process of producing something. So we may think of this in the world of like making computer chips, especially if you're in Ohio, thinking of Intel coming here. If you're thinking about manufacturing of cars or all the big things. But manufacturing can actually be much more residential, local to our own home. For example, 3D printing in your home, woodworking and access. We think about baking a cake, making a t-shirt. I have a friend who started a sublimation t-shirt manufacturing business during COVID, and they actually just crossed what's called the 2 Comma Club. So over the last couple of years, they actually made over $1 million manufacturing t-shirts and selling products and services out of their home. So manufacturing is a lot different than what we may have thought it used to look like. But let's think now about why manufacturing is important. Well, there's lots of different reasons for that. But let's think also, well, where does manufacturing impact us? Well, if you just think about this morning by itself, the alarm clock that you woke up to this morning, whether it's on your cell phone or it's sitting on your bedside stand, was manufactured. And one of the things we want to break down is it's not just one person or one group that manufactured that. You think about there's probably a computer card, a circuit card in there that somebody manufactured. There's that little LED display on the front that somebody manufactured. There's a plastic housing that somebody manufactured. The electrical cable that plugs into your wall was manufactured, most likely by different organizations. And then it came together at some company that put everything together and tested it. The bed you slept in last night, think about the components of that. You've got your bed frame, your box spring, your mattress, your sheets, your pillows, your comforters, your quilts, right? And if you're using one of their mattresses, right, you've got the internal air chamber or the adjustable mechanism. All of those different things were manufactured typically by different companies and brought together. The toothbrush you used this morning was manufactured. The clothes that you're wearing today were manufactured. The coffee cup that you used this morning was manufactured. And even the key you use to lock your door or unlock your door is manufactured. And think about, this is just what you may have seen the first part of your morning today. But most importantly, think also about what would your life be like if you didn't have these? And as we continue to think about manufacturing, well, why is it really important? We hear lots of things about it, but how important is it to us in our world today? Well, we know that it's the 5th largest industry in the United States, and it employs 11.9 million people. Just think about that. Just in the US alone, 11.9 million people. And the average annual employee payroll is around $60,260. And this is income people make to provide for their family, to support their community, to support schools and education. We also know that 6 in 10 of the export dollars in the US come from manufacturing. But we also think that manufacturing is going to be important not only today, but what's it going to look like in the future? Well, we know that from a survey in 2021 that in March of last year, there were over 500,000 job openings. So I want you to think about that. These are companies that there's 500,000 job openings for people to come and support them. And many companies right now are running into issues because they can't find employees. Anybody seen shortages on anything you're trying to buy at the store? Auto parts, anybody seen anything in there where you've seen a little bit of shortages? Yeah, we see shortages, but also what we're finding is manufacturers can't ramp up. They have orders for their product or for their service, but they don't have people to fill those orders, so they can't take them or they extend them out. We know that in 2021, it's 36% harder to find talent than it was in 2018. And when we project fast forward into 2030, again, we have 500,000 jobs opened in 2021. There's projected to be 2.1 million manufacturing jobs that will be unfilled. And so if you think we have supply chain and delivery issues today, imagine when we're at 2.1 million people that we need in the manufacturing world. And when you think also what this is going to do is This is going to ultimately impact the US economy by over $1 trillion by 2030. So let's have a little bit of fun here. How many of you have heard of some of these myths when we start thinking about manufacturing? First and foremost, manufacturing, all jobs are going to be replaced by robots. Anybody have a show of hands? Just kind of show of hands. How many of you have heard that rumor before? Okay. Actually, not true. We do know that some jobs are being replaced by robots, but there's still a significant need for real people in the workplace. There's going to be people that are needed to operate these robots, to program them, to troubleshoot and fix them. But there are many things that robots can't replace. And so there's always going to be a need for human capital in the manufacturing world. Anybody ever heard the myth that manufacturing has unsafe work conditions? Anybody ever heard that one before? Show of hands. Okay, a couple people. Not true. Many of the manufacturing facilities not only are very, very safe, but they're exceptionally clean. So when you think about, for example, in Ohio, Intel's coming, their clean room is actually going to be cleaner than the operating room at a hospital because of what they're actually manufacturing, producing. And it's going to be exceptionally safe because of everything that they do. Anybody heard that manufacturing is a dying industry? Don't get into it. Anybody heard that one before? Okay. Hopefully what you just saw is not the case. By 2030, 2.1 million openings in there. Anybody heard the one that, well, you can't make a career in manufacturing? Anybody heard that one before? Okay, a couple of people. Oh, not true. Those 2.1 million openings give lots of opportunity for people to make a career out of that. And what's really important now compared to what it was when I grew up, you don't have to have a degree to get into manufacturing. When I was in school, the biggest focus was either you had a college degree or you went to work at McDonald's. Those were your two options. And that was coming from my high school guidance counselor. Today, that is completely different. There are many people that can come right out of high school and go right into a very well-paying job, making a lot of money and also providing for the family. I'm looking at Mars here. Manufacturing jobs have left the US. That's a great one. So manufacturing jobs have left the US. I've heard that. Anybody notice the big trend that's what's happening now? Yeah, many of those manufacturing jobs are coming back to the US. Well, why is that? Well, one, COVID taught us that we have a really, really big dependence on overseas manufacturing. And when that gets disrupted, that really impacts us here in the US. But also there's a lot of activity realizing that manufacturing, having it local provides a lot of benefit to us in the process. And so, yeah, you also, as I've heard all these and teach kids their faults. And Kat, that's a great point, is how do you help people think about this and really debunk the myths? Good. Cybersecurity, IP protection. That's another good one, right? Many companies will not export to China because of IP and intellectual property concerns. So many of those jobs have to stay stateside. Last one is you have to have a degree or additional education to be in that industry. Anybody heard that one before? Rumor mill? Okay. Not true, depending on your role. There are many companies that will hire you right out of the gate, pay you a very good salary. Many of them have signing bonuses, and lots of the companies will come in and they'll tell you no experience required. If you are able to show up and, again, dress somewhat professional and do your job more than 3 days in a row, they will actually not only have you come on site and be a member, they will pay to train you, not just on the specific job role and responsibility of what you're doing, but many of these companies offer tuition reimbursement. So students can actually go to school. Many companies offer between $5,000 to $7,000 a year for college education, and they'll give to students, the employees, time off to go take that course, as long as it relates to what they're doing. So you've got somebody who could exit high school, go into a job. If they decide to get a degree later on in life, the company is going to pay for it. Now, I shared with you, I've got 28 years of manufacturing experience. That's how I actually got my master's degree. My company offered that, and I took advantage of it. And over a couple of years, actually achieved my master's and had $0 out of pocket because I actually used my manufacturing, my company's tuition reimbursement. So when you think about manufacturing, I'll ask you either put it in the chat or maybe come off mute. What are you most excited to learn about through this course? So either come off mute or put it in the chat. What are you most excited to learn about? Okay, don't everybody jump at once. I know it's early Monday morning. What are you excited to learn about? Either for yourself or to be able to share with your students. Awesome. Opportunities for my students in Southeast Ohio. Perfect. Good. What else? How to relate manufacturing to my physics class. Oh, that's a great one. And you'll have a lot of fun with being able to do that. What else are you excited to learn about? Making it relevant for the students so they know what's out there and how to prepare them. The different kinds of problems they're facing in manufacturing, incorporated in STEM classes, different opportunities, how to connect. Good. Types of jobs, sharing opportunities with students. Outstanding. Help your students have poverty situations, accessible career options. That's a great way to do that. And so when you think about this, hopefully as you're walking through this course, it's going to give you a couple things. One, it's going to help you be able to understand what manufacturing is and how you can connect it. But hopefully what we're going to be able to do as well is give you the opportunity to help those students figure out how to open those doors to get into those jobs, how this can pave a road for not only short term, but maybe a long-term career in manufacturing. I've met people who have spent 20, 30, 40 years doing the same job in manufacturing and absolutely love it. All right. So we talked also about what you're most interested to learn, but when you walk out of here, when you finish this course, what are your goals? What would you like to be able to say? This was one of the goals I had for the course and I achieved it. Again, same thing, either in the chat box or come off mute. What's your, like I say, one or two goals you have for the course? See a couple people typing. Anybody brave enough to come off mute? That's okay.
I think one of my goals is to make sure that my students have real world STEM experiences that will be relevant for the manufacturing that occurs in our area, and try to link them with opportunities for their future to see what they can work toward when they go to middle school and high school, as I teach elementary.
Oh, that's awesome. And starting elementary is a great place to do that. Outstanding. Great job. I'm seeing confidence in creating incorporated manufacturing, helping students visualize themselves in employment opportunities, share manufacturing with students in corporate. These are all great ones.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
My name is Paula. I'm out of Tennessee, and I'm a middle school STEM teacher, and my goal is I always inform my students that four-year universities aren't for everybody, but there are talents, and out there, if you find a trade that you're good in, you can work and make your money that way, that you're not stuck in that generational cycle, because I teach inner city and I try to expose them to other things that they may get into in order to get out of that generational cycle of just being stuck where they are because their parents didn't go to college or school and so forth.
Yeah, that's a great one. And what I will share, the biggest thing that I hear from manufacturers today, one is, you can see there's a huge need for people in manufacturing. The biggest part they have today is getting people, and true story, one, to show up for an interview, two, to show up for work, and be able to do that on more than 1 or 2 days. People find if they can get those people to do that, they're generally finding really good success. And it really, I mean, it's kind of an open door. You may hear the phrase blue ocean. Students can really write their own career and what they want to do. If they've got a good work ethic and apply themselves, college education is really not required. I've met some really amazing people in manufacturing that do not have any degree, certifications, or certificates after the end of their name. And they do amazing work all the way from machining, machine tools, and you'll learn some about that here. I've met some people who can do manual machining better than the automated machines, and higher precision and more accurate. So there are lots of different ways to do that. Good.
Hey, Scott,
yes.
Jump in real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just share one of my goals and say I love everything you're saying, because I've just started a brand new career program called Manufacturing for Employment. This will be my first year teaching it in August of this year. And everything that you're saying is resonating with me. I targeted economically disadvantaged students that's enrolled in the program. And the goal is to get them out working via like a apprenticeship model their senior year of high school. So they'll be with me their junior year, and then I'm getting them out in the jobs their senior year to just start that kind of on the job training.
I think Dave, first off, so great job. Congratulations on getting that started. What I think you will find, and I suspect you're already doing this, is many manufacturing companies now are begging for opportunities to partner with local schools, junior high and high school. Where I'm at in Ohio, there's been a lot of work with the Chamber of Commerce, local manufacturing organizations, and the education group as well, coming together to say, how do we partner and help, whether it's internships, whether it's us coming into school for career fair days, and really showing students what opportunities were there. The other thing I've also started noticing is many companies are starting to change the way they've done internships in the past. Again, there's some rules and regulations. You can't have certain students doing certain things, but that ability to get them that real world experience, because I think somebody mentioned earlier, college isn't for, I think Paula mentioned that, college isn't for everyone. And that's okay. The thing about it is, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? If you want to stay in your hometown, that's awesome. How do we get you plugged in? If you want to travel the world, that's awesome. How do we connect it? I have a friend who used to work at a company that I'm in. I was actually looking up his profile. He's been living in Singapore for the last 20 years, just because that's where he wanted to live. So the opportunities are out there for you. And again, when we created this course, it was to give you an introduction, to be kind of a catalyst and spark the ideas. So you know your students well, you get to know your manufacturers in your area well. How do you create that partnership and collaboration to really open the doors? Again, so lots of this education, employers don't want what K-12 students are doing now versus 20 years ago. Yeah, it really is. That's a great example. And I think this is where more companies are saying, you don't have to bear the burden of some of this education, so to speak, anymore. We'll bring them on board. We'll show them how to do things. We're going to show them even like sometimes basic computer skills. We'll take care of all that. We just need the people to show up and be willing to learn. That's a great one. So as we finish up this morning, the biggest part I want to share with you is welcome to the world of manufacturing. I know you're going to have a great time learning about this. Hopefully you walk away with a couple of gold nuggets. And most importantly, you're walking away with things you can share with your students. Again, as you're thinking, not only just in the weeks and months ahead, but in the years to come, being able to help these students create that pathway to be able to provide for themselves, provide for their families, provide for their communities. That's really what we want to set them up for in that success. So with that, I'll come off of share and open up any questions. Anything I didn't ask or any questions you have before we finish up this morning? All right. With that,
I have a quick question.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Marty.
We hear a lot about, manufacturing and STEM. I was just wondering from your perception and practice in the industry, how much is arts and design important in the manufacturing process? Because I think it's something that it's under has not enough importance in our educational system. But I was wondering from the industry perspective, what your thoughts were in reality.
That's a good one. I think depending on the role, some of it may be a little bit less. However, when you think about manufacturing and design, right? And I'm going to go back to a commencement ceremony I heard by Steve Jobs back years ago at Stanford. And he talked about his career first with Apple and kind of, his educational background. He kind of bounced around, but he talked about taking courses in arts and design and just stuff that you would go, I don't really understand how that applies. But then you fast forward years later when he talks about, the fundamental design for Apple and when they were designing the computers and the layout and structure, all of that arts and education he had taken came into play with that. So when you think of manufacturing, especially if it's something that's used by somebody on a daily basis, again, a computer, take a look at the layout of how things are done, the keyboard, the computer screen, the mouse, the ergonomics of that. There are lots where that's an art and kind of that out of the box thinking that becomes really, really vital when you're doing that. If you're thinking about a bolt, maybe not as much, but there are lots of things you come into just in your daily use. Think about your smartphones and how those have changed through the years. Anybody remember the old bag phones that used to, anybody ever had one of those, or am I really just dating myself? Okay. Thank you for a couple of people joining on. Anybody remember flip phones? Anybody remember? Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Now think about what your smartphone looks like today and the ergonomics and how the arts and how it's designed and laid out. It's very aesthetically pleasing. So I would say in that process, Mari, they are very important in that process, especially in this conceptual design and long-term continual improvement with customer usage. That's a great question. Anybody else have a question? All right. Well, with that, Kristen, I'm going to hand this back to you. Again, everyone, welcome to the course. Thank you for being a part of this. And thank you for all you're doing to invest in the generations to come. So thank you very much.
And Scott, I'm sure at some point I have these slides that you have shared, but if you will put them in the top of my inbox again, that would be great. So we can put them in our shared folder with the cohort.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to. I'll send it to you as soon as we finish.
All righty. Thank you so much for your
You're welcome.
time. Have
All
a
right.
good day.
All right. Take care.
Right. So on that note, we are going to go ahead and split off into our separate tracks this morning. So if you are in the 101 group, you're actually going to stay right here on this Zoom. And if you're in the 201 track, you're going to join me on this Zoom that I just threw in the chat. So 201 folks will transfer to a new Zoom, and 101 folks will stay here with Heather on this Zoom. And if you get lost, we will definitely alert you and shoot you to wherever you need to go.
If you got an email from me last night with the Zoom link, don't move.
Yeah, and if you got an email from me, you're moving. All right, Heather, let me make you host, and then I will be out of your hair.
Bye, have fun, 201.
Bye, see ya.
I'm just letting everybody move. Uh-oh. Data sort. I'm looking at my attendance sheet to put people where they are. Okay. Real quick. $33. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 27. All right. I'm gonna check and see. Chisholm, Clear, Hinkle, Angle, Forsyth. Jenny Domo, you're supposed to move to the other room, my dear. So the link is in the chat. Hi, nice to see you, and also bye. Hang on, guys. Just want to make sure that people are where they need to be. Thacker. There we go. You're good. Newman, you're good. Core, you're good. Daniel, you're good. Fortier, yep. The card, yep. Carruthers and Garrison. Awesome. Excellent. Okay, super. I'm not sharing my screen, right? Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our MEEP program. Today, we're going to do some sort of basic level stuff, right? We're going to spend a little bit of time getting to know one another. We're going to talk about how all this works. We're going to make sure that everybody has access to all the things. And we're going to put you in good spot to move forward and have a good experience, okay? I already introduced myself to you. And Kristen told you a little bit about how the Tennessee program and the Ohio program worked. So at the very beginning of all of this, Tennessee wrote the grant that was won from the Office of Naval Research. And so they said, year one, we're going to do it with just Tennessee. And year two, we're going to do it with Tennessee and Ohio. And I think between now and the pandemic, we're actually in year 4. And we've got a nice group of people from Tennessee and Ohio. All of you are going into 1,000 different directions, right? There are teachers, 50 teachers in Tennessee, 50 teachers in Ohio. All of these teachers are going on externships that Kristen and I have like hand recruited, matched, placed. So if there's been some bumps along the way, please know that it's because it's Kristen and I working like our darndest to try to manage this, and then also manage the externship process. Sorry, guys, hang on. Kristen's got a technical issue. Okay, super. So I think more than anything, what we need to do is get to know one another for a little bit. And so what I'd like to do is for us to sort of rapid fire go around the room and say who you are, where you're from, what you teach, and also generally speaking, like what you would rate yourself in terms of like how much PBL you do, right? Like 1, I'm a brand new PBL person. 2, I do it every now and again, but I still have a lot to learn. 3, I'm pretty comfortable, you know, all the way up to I do this all the time. Okay. So what I'm going to do to move this along and get traffic is I'll just call on people as you show up on my screen. Hillary Moon, you're first. If you'll share with us who you are, where you teach, what you teach, and just generally like your experience and comfort level with PBL.
Okay, my name's Hillary. I teach 6th grade science in Manchester, Tennessee at Coffee County Middle School. So I'm with middle schoolers all day. I have, I guess, level 1. I have never done this, but I'm very excited to get started. I think it's going to be really beneficial for my kids.
Thank you so much. Michelle Chisholm.
My name is Michelle, and I am from McMinnville, Tennessee. And I teach STEM, and I have everything from pre-K all the way up to 8th grade. And I go to 4 different schools. And I would say I rate myself at about a 1 on PBLs, but I'm excited to learn more.
Thanks so much. Melanie.
Hi, Melanie Collier. I am in the Northeast Ohio area. I am transitioning to a new school for next school year where I will be half math, half science for 11th and 12th graders. It is a private school, so it's a whole new environment for me. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to be doing with them. I've done PBL in the past, more as a project-based because of my student population, but I think I'm allowed to explore a little bit more, and I'm super excited to do more problem-based learning this school year, not just the project-based.
Thanks, Melanie. Tell me what your number was that you gave yourself.
I'm gonna say I'm like a 2.
Okay.
I've done it, but I definitely have a lot more to learn, and I want to get more familiar with the problem-based and not just stick with the project.
I love that. And we'll talk a little bit about the difference between problem and project later today. So thank you for that. Okay. Sherry.
Good morning. I am Sherry Hinkle from Fremont, Ohio, which is Northwest Ohio. I teach math at Ross High School. And I have all sorts of, I have Algebra 1 up to math modeling. And math modeling is more of a project-based, this was my first year doing it. So I would rate myself a 2. I think I've done it a little, but I have a ton more to learn, I know.
Mathematical modeling is really important, and I think a nice way to help kids experience math in a real practical way. So good for you.
I do love that class. That's my favorite class.
And what grade kids take that class?
11th and 12th.
I like that. It's elective.
Yes.
Right on. Super. Thanks so much. Eric?
I'm from Northwest Ohio, Defiance, Ohio. I teach at Sonora High School and I teach math and physics for 9 to 12. And then I would rate myself a 1. I'm a relatively new teacher. This will be my second year going into teaching, so I'm excited to learn more about it.
Thank you. Lisa? Forsyth?
My name is Lisa Forsyth and I teach at McNary Central in Selmer, Tennessee. I would probably rate myself a 2. I teach computer science, but we did have a manufacturing set of courses. It's probably been about 10 years ago now. It ran for 5 or 6 years. And the kids actually took 2 courses in the spring of their junior year, did an internship over the summer, and 2 courses in the fall of their senior year. I did the 4th course. It was a case studies class. So I'm familiar with problem-based, but it's been a while.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. Dave Helmick?
Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Helmick from Stowe High School in Northeast Ohio. I teach science and engineering, and then most recently, this brand new manufacturing for employment career program. I'm just starting that program. So I've never done like PBLs for the manufacturing. So I'd say I'm new to that, but I'd probably rate myself as a 2 with PBLs in like science fields.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that I can make that transition over.
It'll translate.
Perfect.
Yep.
So
Yep.
leave me at a 2 for my rating.
Super.
Thanks.
Thanks so much. Nice to meet you. Jennifer Boggs? Don't look at Jennifer if you're prone to seasickness.
I have a real hard time sitting still. I'm always moving around. I'm a 7th grade teacher at Graham Middle School in St. Paris, Ohio. And we do a lot of project-based learning, especially when we collaborate with the other teachers, like with science and social studies. We have a really great STEAM program at our school. So we also do some work with them. The teachers who teach like medical detectives, and we have a lot of really great things going on there at our school, so I'm real excited. Also, I'd probably a 4. I know with literacy, it seems like there's not a lot of projects, but we try to do a couple each quarter. And we try to focus on real life skills like public speaking, connecting to authors, and figuring out issues and that sort of thing that have to do with, like, we have a greenhouse, we have bees, we have chickens, we have all sorts of things that we try to make connected to all the time. So I'm about 4.
Big fan of Graham Local Schools. It's like the little school that could. That district has tried to pass a levy for like 30 years and never has been able to, and still does a ton of stuff. When I think about schools around Ohio that I've been to, I always think that you guys are the place of perseverance and doing it anyway, thanks to good leadership from Kurt Konecki. And I haven't met your current suit, but I heart Graham Local Schools. The end. I'll get off my soapbox now. Brian Brady.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Brady. I teach at Middletown High School. I'm a little bit south of Dayton, a little bit north of Cincinnati. I teach high school math, a lot of algebra 1 and 2, and geometry. I also will be teaching a math modeling class this coming year, so I'm looking forward to that. I'd rate myself about a 1.5. I've gotten quite a bit of training in PBL, but haven't done a whole lot of implementing it.
I think that's the case with a lot of people, Brian. Thanks for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get to do it this time. Emily?
I'm Emily. I teach in Southeast Ohio at Tri-County Career Center. And so we have students from 8 different districts that come to us. And my class I'm currently teaching is a career tech math class, which is pretty much free reign to do whatever I think students need to be prepared, which is really great. This year we're having students with IEPs join our class. So I'll be working with an intervention specialist who I've worked with before. We're just changing the class a bit. And so I'm excited to teach it to all student populations. I rate myself at a 2. I had some training on PBL years ago and partnered with somebody in the community and it just didn't go well. And then COVID happened and I haven't resumed it.
Fair enough. That's, one of the things I think that we focus a lot on is living in the design cycle and try and learn and try again. So hopefully you will try and learn and try again. I promise I'll stop editorializing, but Emily Smalt has an externship with this great creamery called Snowville Creamery. They're a small business in Southeast Ohio. And of all the teachers that I've placed, I think yours is the one that I'm most excited for and like a little bit jealous of. So good for you.
Thanks. I'm super excited.
Awesome. Marsha Wiley from Tennessee.
Sure. Hi, I'm Marsha Wiley. I'm from Clark Range, Tennessee. I teach Clark Range High School. I teach high school science. I just moved to this county from another district. In the other district, I was given the task to make physical science primarily project-based learning. And so I took the physical science standards and just taught them completely with project-based learning. And so that was a task that, but I learned a lot. The students really enjoyed it. So I rate myself probably about a 3 maybe.
Oh, I did that thing while I was talking on mute. Thank you so much. I got you marked down for a 3. Alicia?
My name is Alicia Bright. I'm from Cleveland, Tennessee. I'm an elementary school teacher at Parkview Elementary School. We are a STEM. We got that certification in 2018. I've been on the STEM team, excuse me, since we started in 2016. I've had a lot of training as far as for PBLs and things like that. Different problem-based learning and sort of tried to mix the two as well. I'm not as familiar with the manufacturing end of it, which is interesting for me. I work in a Title I school, so I think it will be very beneficial for our population. So I'm excited about that. I would maybe rate myself between a 2 and a 3.
Okay. Thanks so much. Holly Edwards.
Hi, I'm Holly Edwards. I also live in Cleveland, Tennessee. Alicia and I are team teachers in 3rd grade at Parkview Elementary. And I'll echo a lot of what she said. We are a STEM school, so we do a lot of PBLs. However, I always feel like I have a lot more to learn, and especially on the manufacturing side of things. I'm excited, to get to relay those opportunities to students, especially in our high poverty school. I guess that's about it.
Thanks so much, Holly. Marty Fish.
I'll rate myself between a 2 and a 3. Sorry.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marty. I teach at Mason Middle School in Mason, Ohio. That is very close to Kings Island, just north of Cincinnati. I teach 7th grade coding and robotics, and I've been teaching that for the last 7 or 8 years. I think that I do a lot of PBL, but I also don't know that I've ever received any formal training in it. So I've kind of made it up as I've gone along, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the structure is and what the research says and how I can improve what I have been doing based on this system.
Thanks so much, Marty. Carolyn? Thacker?
Hey, I'm Carolyn Thacker. I'm in Cookeville, Tennessee. It's right halfway in between Knoxville and Nashville. I am STEM teach. This will be my 3rd year doing STEM. Before that, I was math. So I've done some project based, sometimes problem based, I guess, maybe more. I'm not sure. I'm like some of the others. I'm maybe in between a 2 and a 3. I've done some, but I'm kind of like Marty. It's never been really any formal. I want to actually write the plans and, make it more structured, I guess, maybe. I'm not sure, but I'm STEM at an alternative school. So a lot of times my guys aren't the most upper echelon students, but and that's not the problem. I want to give them more information about jobs out there. Not only do I want to do the projects and problem based, which keeps them interested, but I want to share more information. I think sometimes they're just lacking information more than anything as far as like schooling or trainings or jobs or anything. So I hope to get, a lot of learning about the projects and problem based, but also about the manufacturing side and where they can find jobs and do things that's going to support them in their life.
Thank you so much. Carolyn, did you give yourself a number?
I don't know. I think I'm maybe somewhere between a 2 and a 3, like some others I don't know.
Just so you know, those of you who are like lingering between a 2 and a 3, first of all, it doesn't matter. So I'm giving you all extra bonus points and moving all of you guys to a 3. Let's give ourselves more credit. We've not heard anybody say 4 or 5. 1, 4. And that's okay, because this is the 101 section, but you guys don't give your very humble group of teachers. Kimberly.
My name's Kimberly. I am from Morristown, Tennessee. I teach 6th grade science. I also co-created a STEAM team that we've kind of put on hold for the last couple of years because of COVID and stuff. And so we're hoping to revamp that. And I think that between my regular classes and this after school program is where this externship may help me kind of guide them in the right direction with this. But right now I'm a complete one. So
that's okay.
No experience in it.
Super. Thank you so much. Hold on. It is 10:22, 9:22 for some of our friends in parts of Tennessee. We're going to do the rest of this by 10:30. So let's try to pick up the pace a tiny bit. We'll whip around. We'll get the rest of us introduced, and then we'll move on to the content. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Michael Newman.
Hey there, Michael Newman. I teach pre-K through 8 STEAM at Harrelson Elementary School. That's in Puryear, Tennessee, which is Henry County and northwest part. I would rate myself as a 1. I might have done some PBL stuff, just not maybe to the structure I need to. So I'm going to learn some new.
Good. Thank you. Kathy Gore.
Yes, I am in Southern Ohio, about as far south as you can go. I teach at a rural school, Rock Hill Middle School, 7th grade science. Been there right at 30 years. And I'm just interested in learning more about it. I've read a lot on it and I've tried projects. And I just feel like I just need more help to understand it better. I rate myself about a 2, 2.5.
Thank you. Carrie Daniel.
Hi, my name is Carrie Daniel. I teach 6th grade science in Chester County, Tennessee. That's in Henderson. I'm also over the science department for our junior high, that's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and help with curriculum for those all 3 grades. We do a lot of project-based learning, and a lot of that is some problem-based learning in there with it as well. So I'd rate myself probably a 3, because we've been on.
All right. Thank you so much. Got you down as a 3. Joshua Fortier.
Hi, my name is Joshua Fortier. I am based out of Memphis, Tennessee. I go to I teach both STEM 3 and 4 at our school, and I've been teaching STEM for about 6 years. They started me off in 8th grade, science, STEM, then bumped me up to the high school teaching 1 and 2, and then they moved me to 3 and 4. So a lot of my PBL experience comes from not necessarily personal training. I did have a PLTW training last summer, which got me introduced to more manufacturing ideas. But I do a lot of robotics. I do a lot of teaching kids how to use G&M code for CNC machines and things of that nature.
Thank you so much, Joshua.
So
Kendra?
3.
3. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kendra Landrum, and I work at Union Oda Elementary School in Southern Ohio, in Chillicothe, Ohio. It's an hour south of Columbus. I teach 4th grade math and science, and I work with all the special education students as well. Every 9 weeks, we do a PBL project, so I would rate myself as a 2.
Thanks, Kendra. Stephanie? Oh.
Hey,
Moved on me.
Oh,
that's okay.
My name is Stephanie Carruthers from Henry, Tennessee, teaching Henry County, Henry Elementary. I do pre-K through 8th, and I would say I'm a solid 1.
Okay. Solid 1. Nice to meet you. Doug, you didn't go yet, did you?
I have not. I'm Doug McCard, and I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I'm a retired Air Force engineer turned high school engineering manufacturing teacher at the Greene County Career Center. I'm pretty strong in project-based learning. My school, my lab facility is an actual manufacturing environment. So I have a few local partners that funnel us work, and my kids, they produce it and they get graded on it. So I say I'm pretty strong with that. We place our kids in places like University of Dayton Research Institute, the Air Force Research Laboratory, and I'm looking forward to getting more ideas out, because my students, their performance levels are kind of all over the place. So I'm looking to make sure that I can engage all of them with things that they can do.
That's neat, Doug. Doug is situated in a really cool part of Ohio where AFRL is the Air Force Research Laboratory. They do some amazing stuff. And University of Dayton, did you say you work with UD too?
Yes, I do. So our program, we have a small focus on additive manufacturing. So we do a lot of work in that. So I have an intern working at their additive facility right now, doing something with polymers and aircraft stuff. I need to go visit them this week because they just got the job about 3 weeks ago.
That's really neat. Thanks for sharing. Christine Garrison, did you go yet?
Having difficulties this morning. Okay, I'm Christy Garrison. I teach at Jackson County High School, 9th grade math, and that's in Gainsborough, Tennessee. And I would rate myself a 1 in PBL.
Super, super, super. Did everyone get a chance to go? Awesome. All right. Now that we've rated ourselves in PBL, I just want to take a quick couple of other pulse things. So we're going to do fist to 5. Rate yourself on how comfortable you are using Zoom. 0, like I'm brand new to Zoom, to 5, I use it all the time. Let me see. Helpful, thank you. Has anyone on this call used Slack before? Fist to 5, whether or not you've used Slack. 0 if you've never used it. 5 if you like it, use it. Okay, Slack is like a messenger. It's like a super fancy Facebook Messenger or any other place. So you can send individual direct messages. You can also send big group messages. It's also a great place to curate resources. because you can put something and pin it. We'll use Slack to speak to each other in the class. You probably have already had an invitation to Slack. I'm trying to think if there's any other tech in this class. Oh, Google Drive, fist of 5. Do y'all use Google stuff? Okay, good. Google's really important also. You'll submit your PBL template via Google Drive. There's a couple of assignments in the course that wind up in Google Drive. So today we're going to talk about some tech things. Again, we're going to make sure that you all know how to navigate your way through the online course and so on and so forth. We're going to talk about where the resources live. I'm going to send you an email with all this after it, so you don't have to worry about it. But more than anything, we've been here for an hour, and I think it's time to hit the restroom and get more coffee or drink if you need to. So let's take 10 minutes. It's 9:31 or 10:31, depending on where you are. Let's meet back here at 41, okay? So put yourself on mute, turn off your camera, and go handle your business, and we'll see you back in 10. Thank you.
I just put my AirPods in. Can y'all hear me? Okay, cool. We've got another minute before people come back. All right, 10:41, let's come back. Okay, so we're about to embark on a journey together. Thank you. And I know that probably a lot of you have a lot of questions about how's this going to work? What's this going to look like? And fortunately, we have done this a couple times before, so we can give you some information and anticipate a lot of your questions. But there will be opportunities to answer questions that we have. But let's start with going through the timeline of the whole program and start from there. I'm going to need someone to help me keep an eye on chat because I can't see all the things at once. So if you've got something in chat and I'm not responding, someone be like, hey, Heather, you've got chat questions. Okay, everyone can see my screen? Here we are, it's June. We're doing live online training sessions. And you are going to work on a course, 2 courses independently. You've got a PBL 101 course and you have a manufacturing 101 course. And that slide's a lie. It says June through September. You're actually going to be done with your manufacturing course by the end of August. Michael, do you have a question? No, okay. Some people are going to go to their host site in June. Most of you are going to go in July. In August, we'll have some check-ins, make sure that everybody's moving along okay. And then you're going to create and deploy your PBL in your classroom as soon as you get to school, basically. Also, see where it says ICF data? As part of this project, as part of our grant with the Navy, we said that we were going to conduct an evaluation. So we hired a firm called ICF. They do a bunch of project evaluation in education. And their whole purpose for existence is to make sure that we have some sort of evaluation about how we delivered the program for you all, right? We told the Office of Naval Research when they gave us this money to do this program that we were going to teach teachers how to do PBL. We were going to send them on externships with businesses, and that they were going to do a PBL in the classroom. We need a way to be able to show that we did that. And so tomorrow when we meet together, you're going to hear from Spencer Barr. Spencer Barr is with ICF. He's the analyst for our program. He's going to come and talk to you about his piece of this work and about the evaluation process. Most of you have probably completed pre-evaluation. That's to give you a sense of sort of establishing a baseline for where everyone is. And then we'll be able to determine if we grew people's knowledge and understanding of PBL and manufacturing throughout the course of the program. So please know that every time you have an evaluation, this is not about evaluating you specifically, but rather our deployment of the program and whether or not we were successful in doing the things that we said we were going to set out to do when we started this adventure. And then you're going to make sure that you have all your stuff done by September 30th. So one of the things that's really rough about this particular instance of the MEEP program is that our funding ends on September 30th. So we can't do any work for the Office of Naval Research after September 30th, which means all of you have to have your stuff done by that time so that we can turn around and get everything wrapped up and tell the Office of Naval Research that we met the deliverables. So you have to plan your PBL, as soon as you finish your host site in July. We're going to scaffold you through that process over the next week. But you'll need to have a sense of when are you going to implement. A lot of teachers are talking about doing their PBL at the very first week and wrapping it into sort of their introductory work that they do. That's completely up to you, but you have until September 30th to get that completely done. As we move through this, we're going to ask you to think about your Q1 standards. What do you need to get done during the first quarter of the year so that you can incorporate what you choose to do for your PBL into your Q1 standards? And the hope is that your PBL is going to somehow relate to manufacturing and that you can use the experience that you get from your manufacturing externship to be able to help your students understand a little bit more about manufacturing. We talked to Scott today, and Scott told us, there's a tremendous need for manufacturing in our communities, and that there's a lot of myths about manufacturing, and so people might be reluctant to choose that as a career pathway. Our hope is that throughout this program, you can learn some truths about the current state of manufacturing, that it is a viable career path for students, and that there are options that go from not needing a 4-year degree to just getting some additional training with an employer, all the way up to needing a master's or a PhD to be able to participate. So it's about kind of understanding a little bit more about the pathways that are available for students in manufacturing. We're going to have this class be a cooperative learning environment. So as we've already done, lots of participation, lots of connecting with one another in the chat. We'll do a lot of small groups. Give each other feedback, help each other along the way, share what you know. I know a lot of you are saying that you're not experts, but even if you've been trained on PBL or you have some understanding about PBL, you have some stuff to offer. Every day in this course, you're going to be assigned a module in our edX course for PBL. Please try to complete that work on a daily basis. I know that we have some people who are actually participating in externship experiences this upcoming week, but try as much as you can to stay on top of the one module at a time. I will tell you that based on last week's cohort, because we had a group of teachers last week, I had teachers work for 3 hours after day 1 and got through modules 1, 2, and 3. So I think that the modules are about an hour a piece. You'll be able to do those independently, and there's work to complete every night or every afternoon. That'll be the basis for our conversation the next day. You'll need to be familiar with Google Drive, Padlet, and Jamboard. Please make sure you can access those features on your device. In your online course, which I'll show you your online course in a second, sometimes you'll be sent a link to go to Padlet and answer some questions, or to go to Jamboard and answer some questions. There's always going to be a link. You should always be able to get to that easily, even if you've never used them before. They're pretty self-explanatory. All right, so everyone should have been enrolled or received a link to a course in a system called edX. The Tennessee STEM Network has the license for edX, and so you may have gotten an email from either edX or TSIN. If you didn't get it, please shoot me a message in the chat and I'll make sure that you have access to the edX course. The edX courses, you'll do the PBL course, misconceptions of PBL, framework for PBL, rubrics for PBL, standards alignment, have an opportunity to practice building PBLs. Manufacturing 101 course is not meant to be like you're going to know everything about manufacturing, but enough information to help you be familiar with some concepts that you'll experience across the board in manufacturing, regardless of where your externship placement is. So if you haven't yet gotten into the edX course, shoot me a note in chat and I'll make sure I follow up with that separately. Also, another, hang on, Kristen. Another piece about these courses. That Kristen McQueen is the person that's kind of handling the back end of the course. So sometimes you'll have to interact with her about edX things. At the end of every section, and I'll show you this in a second, there's a green check mark. If you get the green check mark, it means that you're done. We can see that you did it. There have been some problems with the green check mark. So here it says, in order to receive the green check mark, you must watch the video till the end and click on any external links and articles. What we found last week is that even if people are watching the videos, they're not working. So if you do something and you get to the end and you don't get a green check mark, please don't freak out. Shoot me a note and say, hey, I did this. I didn't get a green check mark. I can always go back on the back side of the LMS and look and see who's done what. So please don't stress about the green check marks. They've been a source of consternation for folks in previous weeks. Any questions about anything that I've talked about so far? Go ahead, Marty.
So I've got, when you say have you registered for the edX, is that through TSIN? Like I've got 2 things in TSIN, but I don't have anything in edX. Is that the same thing?
What did the email from TSIN say?
Oh boy, it said activate your account.
Yep, that's the one. So you're going to want to activate.
Yeah, I did that. And it shows 2 courses, but none of them reference edX. So I wasn't sure if there was, it just says view course.
That's okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I'm handling something really quick. Give me a second. Kendra Landrum, sorry to call you out. There's a note for you in the chat. You can come off mute if you have a question.
Okay, I'm gonna look at it right now. I'm in the other section.
According to Kristen, yes.
Oh, okay. Everything online is like for 101 that you guys sent to me. So do I stay here or go to the other one?
Do you want to just stay here and we can figure it out after?
Sure, that sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me message Kristen. Okay. Sorry about that interruption, you guys.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. edX. I'm going to take you to the edX interface so that you can see every time we go to an external site, we get this terrible, like frightening, like, are you sure you want to go here? So we're going to continue. We're proceeding with caution. We're going to the edX course. Live. And this is what it's going to look like when you get in there. So I'm enrolled in this course. I'm going to view this as a learner. And you'll see when you get in there that you have an introduction and it tells about the expectations and requirements. And it'll tell you about Padlet. You get to the bottom of the page, you click next. This talks about what the course objectives are. The pretty basic stuff, just navigate back and forth. For every module, you've got some stuff to read, a little video to watch, and then a little check for understanding. And then you keep going until it says, you got another thing, click next. You're gonna watch these videos. You're gonna do the Padlet. If you don't want to use the QR code, you can click on the link. Padlet is a place where it's like a collaborative learning tool. So if you want to add something to the Padlet, you click plus, and then you type something. So we go Padlet is fun. And then there's me. And now I've added to the Padlet. And eventually, you'll see a bunch of people's stuff. Oh, it went away. Kristen took it all out. But, you know, eventually you'll have like a virtual bunch of like Post-it notes. All right, going back to the course. So then you click next. And it says, this is the end of module 1, and module 2 will look at the basics of PBL. So it tells you, it gives you breadcrumbs. And you can always navigate the course from this line up here if you want to get back to where you were going, okay? Any questions about that?
Sorry to interrupt you, Heather. You got a couple of things in chat. I just want to tell you because you.
Thank you.
Let you know.
My course isn't called MEEP PBL, it's PBL 101. That's fine. Yep, PBL 101 training week 2. Thank you. Yes, so you'll have access to the course materials. I'm not sure how long you'll have access to the edX course itself, but you will have access to like the Google Docs and stuff like that every day. Okay. Are we good on course navigation mechanics, stuff like that? Okay, awesome. What I'm going to do is share my screen again. Shoot, we're going to watch a little video about getting started with PBL, and then we're going to talk about PBL for a little bit. Can you hear that? No, hang on. Share sound. Let me go back. Can you hear now?
Research demonstrates that students who participate in high-quality project-based learning, PBL, do just as well on standardized tests and do better on assessments of skills that are crucial in a modern workforce. But the idea of project-based learning can be overwhelming, particularly if you don't have the support of your district or even your school. Here are 5 ways to begin the shift toward authentic PBL in your classroom. In many classrooms, teachers teach a unit, give a quiz or a test, and afterward, students get to do a little project to showcase what they've learned. In order to shift to PBL, the project must be the core academic work, so that it becomes how students learn the material, not something extra they get to do at the end. Start by evaluating the units you already teach. Could you deliver that content through a project? If a project doesn't address the standards you need to cover in a given subject area, be it literacy, math, science, or history, you'll struggle to find space for it. The best projects develop understanding of key concepts and skills. But you certainly don't have to start from scratch. You can find teacher-tested projects online from sources like High Tech High and PBL Works. Good PBL takes time and involves lots of different parts. Over the course of a project, you may teach direct lessons, invite experts to share insights, and assign field research. Students might do a report, produce a video, build a model, or create a proposal. Try offering lots of different ways for students to develop skills and show what they know. You may be able to reach more students by tapping into what works for them. When a classroom is engaged in PBL, it should, if it's running well, feel like an architecture firm or a science lab or a news office. Rather than a quiet place where students listen to someone talk at them, make your classroom a workshop where kids are meeting in small teams, producing things, critiquing work, testing out hypotheses, and solving problems together. Learning happens all along the way in PBL. Track individual progress throughout all aspects of the project, from research students did, activities they participated in, and drafts they created. To start with, determine what you want students to know, then develop tasks that require students to demonstrate that knowledge and those skills. Identifying what good performance looks like on each task will help you develop a rubric that will set expectations and guide assessment. And again, don't be afraid to turn to the experts online. Getting started in project-based learning can feel intimidating, but tapping into the world of existing PBL resources can make the transition a little easier.
That's from our friends at Edutopia with some encouraging words about shifting towards problem-based learning. Stop that. And this diagram here is kind of a recap of that information, right? So the difference between a dessert project and having your project be your main course. The project is the unit in PBL, driven by student inquiry, focused on the product and process, aligned to academic standards, collaboration with students, and in-class guidance from the teacher, so that transition from sage on the stage to guide on the side, real world context and application, and ends up with a public product for students to share with other people. So that's what we're hoping for. And as part of this, there are a lot of steps that you'll need to go through in order to create a PBL. And as you go through the course over the next couple of days, we'll start to unpack all of this. So this is going from big to small, right? High level overview to something smaller. But the very first thing you're going to do is start to think about your standards, right? What do you need to accomplish in the first 9 weeks of school? How can we incorporate that and make it real world? So one of the reasons that we do PBL is to create, real world context for classroom learning, so that we can start to answer the question of, when am I ever going to use this anyway? And you can say, well, actually, manufacturers use this all the time in here and here and here. It also helps create a culture of becoming problem solvers and innovators. If we want students to feel like they're problem solvers, we have to give them opportunities to successfully solve problems, and to help them know that there's more to learning than just getting the right answers on the test. So we'll talk about how to create a driving question. For PBL, sometimes we have a messy open-ended question, a hook activity, if you want to pull in a speaker, if you want to use yourself as the hook, as the slides mentioned, and then some daily activities along the way to start to help create a scaffold for them to be able to answer the messy question that you are proposing with them. Opportunities to bring in community partners so that they can see that this manufacturing stuff that you're talking about, or this PBL problem that you're talking about, is not something that happens way in the rainforest or in the Arctic, but rather right there in their community. And an opportunity for kids to show themselves as experts by having a showcase where you can measure what they've done by learning, by their presentation. So we have lots of schools that do PBL a whole bunch of different ways, right? We have schools that do a classroom level PBL, where it's just the classroom teacher working independently, doing PBL by himself or herself. We have schools that do school-wide PBLs, where the kids take a couple of weeks and work together on solving a problem. And then also sometimes we'll have schools who do grade level implementation of PBL. So for this, the expectation is not that you're going to, for the very first time you do PBL, have a school-wide PBL, right? That's probably way far down the line. What we want to do is get you to the point where you can create and deploy a PBL for the students in your classroom. If you want to pull in another teacher to do that with, super. But we're trying to make some baby steps and some smaller movements to go from where you are right now to where you're headed in the future. My daughter, Maggie, she's 12. She's just finished 6th grade. She's in an independent STEM school here in Columbus called Metro Early College High School, Middle School. And every year they do a grade banded PBL. So this year they worked on a PBL under the heading of infrastructure. And the kids were able to choose from a couple of different questions within the idea of infrastructure. We had some kids work on water quality. We had some kids work on snow removal. Kids worked on a number of different things that relate to infrastructure. In my daughter's class, their stuff was focused on water quality. And so they started off by having the kids meet with a water quality expert in our community. And through that, a group of kids latched onto this idea that there's a bunch of lead in the water in Columbus and we don't know how much. So their kind of revised question was, how can we ensure that the people in our community have access to clean drinking water? And together they researched like how prevalent is lead in our community? How do they measure for lead? What are the negative impacts about lead in the water? And then the kids had to come up with a solution. And my daughter's group came up with creating a filter that you could attach to your water spigot. And that filter was supposed to reduce the amount of lead that came out. Did they actually build a filter? No. Did they make a model of the filter? Yes. And then after they created their model, they created a presentation that was tied to a rubric. And then they had people from all over the community watch the kids present about their solution to water quality in Columbus. That is like the fullest, biggest expression of PBL, right? Like you've got an authentic problem, sustained inquiry, they work on it for a long time, presentation of student learning complete with community partners. Community partners were present at the beginning and at the end. And if you can make all of those things happen, great. If you can get some of those things to happen, okay, right? So this PBL, learning how to create a PBL is a process. It takes a long time. We're going to help you along the way, help you get to the point where you can create a PBL and give you opportunities to begin to think about how your students, their needs, what you have to teach at the first 9 weeks, what you've learned in your externship, and where your students are, come together to create a PBL that works for you, okay? I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna see if there are any questions for the group at this point, either about how PBL works, how this course is supposed to work, or what the expectations are for by the time you finish. Because I just gave you a huge brain dump of information for the last 20 minutes.
I have a question. Are we going to have specific homework each night in manufacturing and the PBL course?
No. So we asked you to start module 1 of manufacturing, I think today or tomorrow. The thing that you're really going to have assignments for right now is the PBL course.
Okay, so focus on one module a night in the PBL course.
And then you can do the manufacturing later.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Good question. Thanks, Marty. Hi, Mr. Bland. I'm glad to see that you've touched down safely.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm trying to turn my phone around. Here
You
it
are
is.
fine. All you have to do right now is drive. Hi.
I'm so sorry. It was a mess, but I'll have to catch up on everything I missed.
Mike's been traveling and got stuck, and I don't know. Tell us real quick where you were and what you were doing and what.
Well, the family, we're all in here. My wife's driving. We were in Roatan, Honduras, and we're supposed to connect last night in Miami, which we did. And we were taxiing out on the runway, and a couple of ladies had a little too much to drink, and we had to escort them back to the gate, and then they couldn't take off until this morning again. It was a big mess, but at any rate.
Well, we're glad you're here. We also made a recording.
Got home, so.
We made a recording for you, and we'll send it to you.
All right, I appreciate it. Keep listening in and see kind of where we are.
That's fine. Your connection's kind of bad, so if you'll just listen along and we'll catch you up. Question from Jennifer Boggs was, did we get links for both courses on the modules? And the answer should be yes, you should have both courses. I think once you enroll in edX, then after you set up the profile, you go back in and your courses should populate. Accurate? Okay, great. What other questions? Okay, I'm going to talk about two more things real quick. How many of you are familiar with the engineering design process? Anybody? Okay, great. So one of the big underpinnings of PBL should be the engineering design process. And that's the process by which you ask a question, you imagine a bunch of potential solutions, you pick one of them, like plan, then you create your solution, you test it, did it work? And then you improve it if it didn't. And I think that more and more and more, we live in a design cycle. How many of you teach something first or second period? And then when you get to the next time you teach that day, you've made modifications because you're like, that sucked, I'm gonna fix that. So that's living in the design cycle. Intuitively, you make a dish for dinner, you find a new recipe, you make the dish, and then you're like, oh, there wasn't enough salt in that. You add more salt next time you do it. We always live in the design cycle. I think the problem comes in is that we don't give kids a lot of opportunities to live in the design cycle because things are finite. You read the chapter, you do the activities, you take the test, and it's over. Now, sometimes there's a chance to go back and revise, but a lot of times we just keep moving forward. The thing with PBL is that it gives us an opportunity to give kids a chance to live in the design cycle with a little bit while they wrestle with relevant problems. So someone asked a question, should our PBL be connected to the standards alone or also to our manufacturing externship experience? So one of the goals of this MEEP program is to help students to help solve the problem with the manufacturing pipeline, right? To create awareness about jobs in manufacturing. I think that in the most perfect world, you could create a situation where you're taking your standards, you're trying to connect them to manufacturing if you can, and also building awareness about like why this matters in the real world, right? There are some people who are going to say that's absolutely impossible, I can't do it. And we can work on that together. But ideally, I think it's like a lens, right? Like you can take your content and then use the lens of manufacturing as a way to make that content come to life where possible. Now, I think another thing that happens is as we're thinking about this, like you're new to like what the potential lenses for manufacturing are. So it's hard to see how does that connect to my content, which is one of the reasons why we're giving you this manufacturing course and the externship experience. I also know that you're going to be in like the very beginning of your courses. I had a guy last week's cohort and he's like, I'm going to ask my kids to program solutions about this, that, and the other thing, but the kids don't have the technical expertise to do that level of coding yet. They're not going to have that until it's like May. And I said, okay, well, what can we do instead? What's a scaffold? And he's like, well, they learn how to do flowcharts. Well, cool. Let the kids create the flowchart to the solution, not actually do the coding. So think about how we can work backwards to use the level of skills that the kids have today to be able to pull off the PBL. And then maybe down the line, you can move that PBL to May, and then the kids can do it a different way next year. So for this, I want to invite all of you to give yourselves permission to live in the design cycle yourselves, right? You might not have like your like, oh my gosh, 5-star level 10 PBL this year. But if you go from having no PBL this year to one PBL that works okay, it's still progress. And so I want to invite you to give yourself permission to play, give your kids permission to explore, and really give yourself a chance to try to do something new that might be outside of your comfort zone, and recognize that anything that you do is a step forward, okay? Okay, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna break into, how many people do we have, 26 people? Let's break into 3 groups. Let's do an elementary, a middle, and a high school group. And I would like for you all to just talk about PBL, right? What's it look like in your classroom? What topics are you excited about? I just really want to get you to talk to each other for 20 minutes so that you can get to know each other. Really at this point, just your initial thoughts. It doesn't have to be a specific conversation. Here's some kind of brainstorm ideas. Can you see my screen? Don't worry about the expert comfortable. We already did that. What are you excited to try? Do you have someone to collaborate? What have you done that's worked before? Anything, okay? So we're gonna do like 15 minutes of talking to each other. I'm gonna create an elementary, a middle, and high school group. I'll give you guys a chance to move into your groups. Then when we come back, have someone be ready to say, hey, this was one cool thing that came up. This was a topic that we explored, and we'll just sort of debrief together after that. Then we'll make sure that everybody knows what they're doing moving forward, and we'll be done. So we'll probably end before we're supposed to end, but we probably still have another like 45 minutes worth of stuff to talk about. So I'm going to create 3 breakout rooms. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to let participants choose. If you have any trouble getting to your breakout rooms, I will show you how to do that. If you teach across a bunch of grades, you pick what you want. I'm going to create an elementary room. I'm going to create a middle school room. And I'm going to create a high school room. I'm going to open the rooms now, and you guys pick which room you want. And it's 11:16. We'll come back at 11:31. If you need help figuring out how to get to a room, I'll help you. Brian, you going to high school? Joshua?
I'm trying, just getting a blank screen.
All right, you want to go to high school, middle school, elementary?
High school. I'm trying to go to high school. I'm a
I got you.
junior teacher.
Kathy? Middle school? Should take you there. There you go. How'd it go? How was your small group, Carrie? Great.
Sorry, I muted myself again. Sorry. It was good. Just different ideas of different projects that people are doing, and different ways that they're bringing people in, either to see kids work or just to talk to the kids. So different ideas of how to do that throughout the long day.
Wonderful.
Just different projects.
Got our people coming back. Great. Sounds like some good conversations were had. I made my way around all the different rooms. Elementary, will you guys start and tell us one takeaway or idea or something that came up in your conversation that you think might be worth sharing with the big group?
We only have 4 people in elementary, but at one school district, 2 people are on the chat, and they are a STEM like school, and they have a couple really awesome units that they do. One is a weather unit, and they bring in a meteorologist, and they do a lot of problem-based learning during that unit.
Fantastic, thank you. What about our middle school group?
One of the things that we talked about was the challenge of bringing in outside experts to look at the kids' projects and to give them feedback on those projects. It's sort of a culmination, just because we're often working with 5 or 7 different groups of kids over the entire day. And we were doing some brainstorming about that, like maybe having people who signed up for particular hours or particular classes. They didn't have to be there the entire day, reaching out to your Board of Education, even offering virtual options for people to visit and maybe watch on Zoom and be a Zoom audience rather than actually having to give up time out of their day to drive in and sit in the classroom. Also, in terms of like the sharing and presenting of outside experts, that you could have them come in like for one class, maybe mix it up, different classes throughout the day, get a different expert and then record them so that you could be sharing those different experiences. So I thought that was really helpful because it's a challenge that I've had, and I appreciated everybody's, thoughts and brainstorming on that.
Yep. And another thing that people do, I know we're trying to have an authentic audience. Sometimes it's nice to have an expert, but let's say you get one expert and you go and present to someone else's class. That's a choice. Another thing schools do is to have presentations of student learning at a nighttime event so that the parents can become the authentic audience. So it doesn't have to stay in the classroom. You can certainly take it out of the classroom. We'll talk about this more later, but one of the best benefits, I think, of bringing community members into the classroom is to be able to dispel myths that the community members have about what happens in school, right? People are freaking out about teachers indoctrinating students with all kinds of weird stuff. Let's talk about what actually is happening in school by showing them and inviting them into your classroom and give them a chance to see firsthand all of the badassery that's occurring in the classroom, because I don't think that teachers get enough credit. And the more you can bring them in and show them, and I think have the kids show the community, like, I'm this smart, I'm this much of a problem solver. I think overwhelmingly your community members are going to go, I had no idea that kids were that smart in school. Even babies, really. Like, those of you who teach early elementary, I think that a lot of times parents, we don't give kids enough credit. So thanks for that. What about the high school group?
I'll jump in and anyone else can fill in things that I missed. We shared a couple really good projects that different teachers are doing at the high school level to kind of get people's brains thinking of different versions of PBLs they could use. And I think something that was brought up that a couple people mentioned was getting our students at the high school level accepting of failure and not having them get frustrated through the learning process, right? So it's so easy at that level, right? They just kind of tell me what to do, let me sit and do it. I'm going to regurgitate the answers that you want and let me move on because they figured out how to play the game of school. And when that gets interrupted, for the students, like, oh, there is no right answer here. You have to figure out a right answer. That can become problematic for some students. So it's getting them to become accepting of learning through failures.
They lose their minds, Dave. Teachers lose their minds when we teach this class. How long does it have to be? How many days does it have to be? How many kids have to do it? Like, people feel a lot of discomfort in being able to choose your own adventure. I think something that you can do early on in school is to create a culture. At Patel, we talk about culture as what you expect and accept of one another. If we expect and accept that there's more than one way up the mountain and that we expect you're going to help us figure out all those ways, and you change that culture from, I expect you to get the right answer every time, otherwise you're terrible. And if you can create a culture at the very beginning of school that says, hey, we're going to live in the gray for a little while. We're going to work on the process of solving problems and not focus so much on the solutions to those problems. Then I think you can create some more comfort with uncomfort. I went to Stanford, and if you guys aren't familiar with Stanford D School, I'll make a plug for that today. They do a bunch of stuff around design thinking. And the very first activity that we did when we got there to learn about design thinking was redesigning your morning routine. And it was very low stakes. Everyone has a morning routine and probably are satisfied with it to different degrees, right? So how can you redesign your morning routine to make it more less stressful? Could you engage your kids the very first day? Here's the engineering design process. We're going to practice the engineering design process we're going to redesign our morning routines, or redesign the way that you do homework, or redesign your study space, whatever it is. Give students a chance to practice learning design thinking, engineering design process in like a way that's really personally relevant to them. You'll be able to show and help them start to build their confidence as problem solvers and innovators. So that's something that I think is a great idea. You could have kids redesign the way that they move through the lunch line, or the way that kids get off the bus. Their school is rife with opportunities to get them to rethink about process. So there's that. I like went on a tangent after Dave spoke. Is there anybody else from the high school group that had something worth talking about?
I think some of us had like cross class collaboration, where one class works with another class, trying to figure out how to bring the best of both worlds into one project and collaborate.
Yeah, if you can make that happen, that's even more bang for your buck, and more examples to show that relevance between why what you're doing in the classroom matters in the real world. Okay. One thing I want to spend a minute talking about is the difference between problem and project. Does anybody feel like they've got a handle on the difference between problem-based learning and project-based learning? Lisa, was that a tentative hand raise? Dave, why don't you do it?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to take a stab at it, right, your problem-based is much more open-ended, and maybe a little messier for the students, because they're just answering a problem. They're coming up with every single parameter that they could think of in terms of answering that problem. You really don't have one clear, direct answer. So you might have groups going off in very different directions. It might surprise you in terms of the answers they come up with or the solutions. Whereas the project base, I feel that's more teacher directed in that. So you're saying, all right, here is, we are going to build this, and you are creating something, and whether that's digitally or an actual hands-on product. But I'd say there's more constraints on that because you're staying within the build or the design realm. That would be my best guess at the two.
Yep, that's great thinking on that. So both of them have their place, and we spent some time talking about the difference between problem versus project. Our goal for this is for you guys to come up with a problem-based learning unit. The example that I was taught that I love because it makes sense to me is, let's say there's a green space across the street from your school. And if you want to take a project-based approach, you decide that we're going to build a park bench for that green space across from the school. And then every group comes up with like a different thing for that park bench, but everybody makes a park bench at the end. In a more problem-based learning example, you'd say, hey, there's a green space across from the school. What do you want to do with it? And if kids want to make an ice cream stand, they make an ice cream stand. If they want to make a playground, they make a playground. If they want to make, I don't know, a park bench, they make that. But all of the solutions are going to be different. So a whole bunch of different ways up that mountain. But at the end of the day, that green space is going to be used in whatever way the kids feel like is the best answer for that. Now, that's harder to pull off because you have more kids going in different directions, but you still get to create the scaffold for, hey, your final project, your final design must have these elements, and you need to incorporate these things, and your presentation needs to be this long. There are a number of different ways to approach that, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but I know from our week 1 class last week, we had a lot of questions about that problem versus project. So I wanted to get that out there today, even though you'll encounter more of that as we go along. Awesome. Brian, do you have a question? No? Okay. Does anybody have any questions about what's happening next? Cool. We're moving through this way, way quicker. What I'd like to do, in case there are any questions, just want to have a little check-in. So we have a question parking lot. And I'd like everyone, whether or not you have a question, to do a little bit of reflecting about our time here together today. So put your name list any successes or takeaways that you've had from the day, any course issues that you have questions about or pending questions. If there's nothing, you can simply write none in there. It's fine. Tonight, you're going to complete module 1 in the PBL course. You're going to start module 1 in the manufacturing course, even if you just peek in there and look at it. And then take a look at your Q1 standards, your first 9-week standards, and just start to like put those in your mind to just get some generation of ideas flowing about what you might be able to do for your PBL. Tomorrow, we're going to meet with Spencer from ICF, and we're going to do some work together. Today, we're ending 30 minutes earlier than any of the week 1 courses ended. So either I'm getting really, really good at this, or you guys are not as talkative. But please know that class could run until 12:30 or 11:30 if you're in Central Time. So I don't want to set some expectation that this is what's going to happen every day, because it might not. All right, does everybody have the link for the parking lot in the chat? And if there are no other questions, you guys can fill out your little question in your parking lot and end the meeting. I'll sit here and help anybody that might need help once everybody else leaves. Thanks, guys. It was nice to meet all of you.
Thank you. Hey, Heather, real quick, I didn't mean to get ahead, but I checked the modules last night and I did some of it last night. I was just trying to make sure I didn't have nothing to do today.
You're fired.
On that one, on that one sheet, it talked about the kelp. Do you remember that? It was talking about the new inquiry thing, like to help with your interest. Do you know if we're going to be able to do one of those, or was that just an informational type thing? Because I think it costs money.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you don't know that one? Okay.
I don't know, Carolyn. Hang on. Module 1?
Just in our module 1, it's like the last thing. I didn't do the parking lot things because I didn't know if we were supposed to do that yet. But I did all the module stuff, and there was one article in there, and it talks about your learning style and helping your students learn their learning style, and you learn your learning style, and blah, blah, blah. But
101?
Yeah. But when you clicked on it, it was like it cost you like $35. I didn't know.
It's probably just meant to be an example.
Information.
I don't know off the top of my head what you're talking about. So give me till tomorrow and I'll look it up and check.
Well, that's what I started to just wait and ask tomorrow. And I thought, no, I'll see if she knows, but it's fine. It's no worries. I just did stuff last night because I wasn't sure if we had anything due today.
I get it. It's nice to work ahead. It's totally fine.
So, okay. It's no worries. I just thought.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't remember that one, but that doesn't mean.
You're okay.
Yeah.
It's in one of the articles, like it's underneath one of the videos. It says, look at this article. So,
got it. Yeah, it's probably just meant to be there. No one expects you to buy anything. And the other thing that I will always do is if I find something that costs money, I'll look for a free version of it just by Googling.
Well, that's what I was wondering. It seemed like good information. So I was like wondering if we could do this free or if we have to pay or, if, so I didn't know, but it's no worries.
Okay. Hang on, Jennifer. Anyone with the link should have access. I don't understand why you don't. Anyone with the link can edit. Don't worry about it, Jennifer. Just say that you're fine. If you're fine, or put a question in the thing.
All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
As I'm just thinking about what the rest of my day is going to look like, managing like a farm and lots of kids, how much time should we expect to spend on the modules every evening?
So I don't know what it looks like on a module by module basis, but I had people last week complete 3 modules in 3 hours. So I feel like if you give yourself an hour, hour and a half, you should be able to get through it.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
We'll check on that tomorrow though. What other questions do you guys have? Cool. If you're done with me, you can go. Kendra, if you want to stay and we'll figure out what our next steps are, we can do that.
Oh, just real quick, since I came in late, I still want to go back and review the Zoom recording. How would I go about doing that?
Well, Michael Bland, thank you so much for asking.
And I truly am sorry for all of this. It was not, I just feel terrible about missing like a majority of the meeting. So
Listen,
I'll
if
definitely
you
go
could have
back this
stopped those
evening.
ladies from being drunk
Oh
and
my
wild,
gosh.
I know you would have, because
Well, I
don't
felt
worry
like
about it.
I felt like having what they had this morning, I'll tell you.
Don't worry about it. Stuff happens. This afternoon, like the Zoom, Kristen, who started us this morning, owns
Okay.
the Zoom account that the meeting was generated from. I have to wait for her to give me the recording link. Once I
Okay.
get the recording link, and later this afternoon, I'm going to send everybody emails to all the things. So you
Okay.
even have access to it. No problem.
Okay. And then and I didn't have a chance to review the syllabus when it was sent last night. We were out of country, so I couldn't really get it out of airplane mode.
Yeah, that's
So
okay.
I'll look at that today. So we have modules to complete each evening. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yep, you'll have one module
And I'm
today.
sorry, we're picking up our dog. I'm at a dog place, so there's a lot of barking. Sorry.
Okay. You have to do module 1 in the PBL course tonight, and then look at module 1
Okay.
in the manufacturing course.
Okay. Okay, will do.
Okay, thanks. Who else has a question?
I have a question. In this parking lot, it's not
Yeah.
allowing me to type anything in.
I don't understand what's happening.
Well, do it. I mean, I know you can make a copy and then you can edit it yourself, but I don't know if that will give you back access.
No, I don't want to do that. Hang on. Chat. Try this link.
Okay, hold on just a second.
Are you in there?
I clicked on the link. Oh yeah, it's letting me. I can edit this one.
Super.
I think yes. Yeah, it's a little bit of a delay, but I can do it.
Okay, great. Any other questions, Josh?
I believe that's it.
All right, thank you. Sherry, how can I help you?
You said we're coming up with a project-based learning, right?
Problem-based.
Problem-based, okay. Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, how can I help you? You're on mute. Brian, do you have a question? No? Okay. You're free to go if you're done. Mr. Bland, unless you have another question, you're free to go. Kathy?
Okay. All right.
Kathy, what can I do for you, my dear?
Heather, I just want to let you know I was reading what everyone else is writing on the parking lot. That's why I was hanging around.
Oh, that's okay. That's totally fine. I just wanted to make sure that I was like responding to everybody.
Good.
I sent you a message.
I know you need access to the course. When we're done here, I'll send you the link to the course.
And another message about my mother passing away.
What?
It's been a tough year. My husband passed away 5 months ago unexpectedly, and my mom did Friday. So tomorrow her showing starts at noon. So is it okay that I get off about 11:30 tomorrow?
No. Can you just not come tomorrow? You've got bigger fish to fry than this.
Well, I want to keep up with it though.
Okay. If you get up tomorrow and you decide that you need to tend to yourself, you can. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. I was sick last week's the reason I switched to this week, and then all this happened. So it's been a tough time.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. There's always a recording though, okay?
Okay.
All right. You take care of you, and I'll make sure that you get access to the course. I'll work on that when we're done here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh man. Holly. You're on mute if you're asking me a question. Holly, do you have a question for me? I don't think she does. All right, Kendra. Let me figure out. You said that all the stuff that you were getting correspondence about was 101, right?
Yeah, like when I go in the TSIN, it says 101. Now
Got
I
it.
am working with like a partner. She's in 201.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would benefit from 101 because I don't.
think that's based on what you said in your reflection about, your self-rating. Like I've known Jenny for years. When Jenny showed up in 101 today, I was like, she's not 101. She needs to go. Which is why I shooped her over to 201. Let's leave you in 101 and we'll make sure, and you've got all the stuff you need. You're in the 101 MEEP course,
Yes,
right?
I'll have to look. I'll look when I get off of here to make sure I'm on the 101 MEEP.
Okay.
But I definitely think I'm more of a 101 than a 201 for sure.
I think that's perfect. We can keep you guys separate. And from what I recall, that was the decision we made, to begin with.
Yes.
Look, Jenny's trying to get in here.
Oh no, here she is.
Oh no. Holly Edwards, do you have any questions for me? Oh, Holly, if you're talking to us, I can't hear you. Okay. Jenny, hi.
So am I good to go?
I think you're good to go.
Okay, awesome. Well, have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yes, you as well.
Holly, do you need anything from me? All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you.